Good morning. I really appreciate Dr. Rudd coming over here and giving us that high-level overview about mental illness. And I'd like to bring that back to the Methodist community here. And Dr. Rudd talks about embracing this very uncomfortable conversation. And I'd like to echo that and use some of our Methodist language, and let's be curious about it. And I want to be curious about that over the next few minutes and talk with you about mental health, mental illness, and how it impacts the workplace, and especially our workplace. So here at Methodist, in our people pillar, we have a blue chip, and that blue chip is to sustain a high-performing, diverse workforce focused on exceptional care and driven by our power of one culture, our power of being at our best. And it is hard to sustain a high-performing work group if we are struggling with mental health issues. The World Health Organization says that by 2020, the year 2020, depression will be the leading cause of disability worldwide. It is at the very end of 2015. This is just a stone's throw away. 1 in 10 people struggle with depression, and that costs employers. That costs employers up to $44 billion in lost productivity each year. Dr. Rudd points out that anxiety is more prevalent than depression, and it is. But it seems like depression is something that we can put our hands around a little bit easier. We have about 12,000 associates at Methodist. And if you look at 1 in 10 who struggle with depression, I wonder what the impact of depression is and other mental illnesses with our own associates. So in the United States, 47% of employees report that their stress levels at work have increased over the past year. And we have some significant results from our health assessment in 2015, earlier this year, that mirror this. So in our health assessment that we take every year, there are 3 questions that point towards depression. And those 3 questions are, in the past 2 weeks, how often have you felt down, depressed, or hopeless? And in the past 2 weeks, how often have you felt little interest or pleasure in doing things? And then third, have your feelings caused you distress or interfered with your ability to get along socially with family or friends? So out of the 6,800 people, associates, that took this at the beginning of this year, 45% answered yes to 2 or more of those questions. So, that's pretty alarming to me. And I want to be curious about these results. And I know that the senior leaders want to be curious about these results as well. It does, though, mirror pretty much this statistic. So how does this kind of look in the workplace? Some of the ways this looks in the workplace is that people maybe are chronically late, they miss deadlines, they don't get along with their colleagues, maybe a little poor hygiene, absent a lot, presenteeism, that's coming to work but you're really not there, agitated, quick to jump at people. So when we think about depression in the workplace, it's a real phenomenon. And sometimes depression in the workplace kind of looks like what we see in the mirror in the morning. There is no specific look. But it is clear that mental health and stress have a large impact on well-being, productivity, and performance at work. So, what do? We're kind of left in the element of confusion. What are the next steps? And so we've talked to a lot of people and looked at a lot of best practices around the country of other employee assistance programs, other large health systems that also struggle with this issue. And everyone struggles with this issue. So do we go with the Sergeant Schultz approach to mental health in the workplace? Do we see nothing and know nothing and do nothing? And a lot of that is what Dr. Rudd has talked about, is that we can pretend that it doesn't exist. But we don't want to do that, because here at Methodist Healthcare, what does that mean? That means remaining low on the accountability ladder. We know the problem exists, so now we need to do something about it. So what we want to do is what we do best in our Power of One culture. We want to make connections, we want to listen to understand needs, and we want to honor commitments to our associates. So we want to communicate, educate, and support. So let's talk a little bit about communication. Today we have talked a lot about momentum. And we have a momentum going on in Methodist healthcare around mental health issues. About a little over a year ago, we started talking under the direction of Jay Robinson about behavioral health in all of Methodist healthcare. And we started looking at all the different places that mental health impacts Methodist. Our patients, their families, our communities, our congregations, our associates. So we are talking about mental health now at Methodist Healthcare. And I know that for many people in the room, the fact that we have a president of a university taking time to come talk about mental health to us, the fact that we're even speaking about mental health of our associates at QBR, I know that for some of you, if it was socially appropriate, you want to stand up and shout from the rooftop, "Alleluia," because you see this. You see it in your colleagues, you see it in your families, you see it in your community, and maybe you struggle with it too. And it is exciting that we are talking about it. Because if we don't talk about it and we ignore it, the problem doesn't get better, it gets worse. So regular, consistent communication will erode stigma over time. So why don't people get help when they need help? People don't want to admit that they're depressed or overwhelmed. People are afraid it will adversely affect their work performance and their work status. People are embarrassed. They feel alone. It's not socially acceptable. But when we begin to break down these barriers and talk about mental health like we talk about any other health problem, then there will be no need for the stigma. If we can talk about mental health the way that we talk about diabetes and cardiovascular disease and cancer, it is an illness. If we can talk about it that way, then there is no need to feel embarrassed or alone. So we need to be promoting education around mental illness, and that's what we're going to be doing. We will promote education around mental illness by being more thoughtful about the way that we approach mental illness. And we're going to start to do that with some really deliberate screening of depression. Screening of depression in our primary care physician practices, which has already started with some good success. Screening for depression in our emergency departments, and screening for depression with associates. And why do we want to do that? Because it doesn't always look the same. There is not a telltale look of somebody who's struggling with depression. not everybody looks the same. Here we have, not everybody is going to be excited and show excitement in the same way, right? Because the Vulcan is not laughing out loud does not mean he is not amused, right? And we don't know what depression looks like. Everybody can manifest it differently. And so we want to be more systematic in the way that we look at depression. A few weeks ago, I was in the company of a couple of associates, and they were sharing this, their life. They were sharing their life. I have this struggle, I have that struggle. And it was a social situation, and I said, yeah, I struggle with that too. Yeah, I'm single, I have kids, I have a job, and I'm trying to balance work, life, I'm going on too. And one of the people looks at me and says, really? And I said, uh-huh. Well, but you're the director of the EAP. And I said, uh-huh. And she said, well, you send out those e-newses, and sometimes you talk at QBR. She said, and it looks like you have it all together. She goes, but I guess I was wrong. You don't have it all together. And I thought, well, really, what does that look like? Thank you. I don't have it all together. And, that's under, on the job performance duties, other duties as assigned, must have it all together. But really what it is being human, right? And we are all human. And as I look around at all of you, I see many people nodding, because you feel it too. And your associates feel it too. And as I'm talking, I know that there's a list of people going through your head that you can think of that are impacted with mental health issues. So how are we going to educate? I said we're going to be a little bit more deliberate in the way that we look for depression in our primary care practices, in our emergency departments, and with our associates. So starting in 2016, we're going to offer associates an opportunity when they do their biometric screening that they have to do for health insurance to take a depression quiz. It's a 9-question quiz. It's done in a minute or two, and it's completely confidential. It's not getting written down anywhere, but it offers an opportunity for associates to have an open discussion about depression. We're going to offer check swag training on signs and symptoms of depression and suicide risk. I have been out to South, and I have been with our Faith and Health Division to talk about signs and symptoms of suicide risk, and I'd love to come out to talk to your leadership as well. So please contact me, and I'd like to come out to your all-leader meetings, because as leaders, it's really important that we understand what those signs and symptoms of depression and suicide risk are, because we spend more time at work than anywhere else. So we are on the front lines of being able to see what this is and to offer help. In January or February, we're going to offer a resilience challenge with My Healthy Life, and that's going to be a 6 to 8 week few-minute course that you can take online and offer ways to reduce stress and increase our resilience. And we're going to have an increased awareness campaign all throughout 2016 as well. And we want to support, right? Because nobody ever asks, how's Waldo? So as part of our campaign here, we want to offer support to one another. As leaders, I know that there's so much that we focus on every day, and sometimes it's that human interaction with the people who work with us that we push to the side, because there's, we triage, and we go to those things that, need our most attention. So I want to encourage us to offer support to one another. It's the holiday season, and Chassie opened up with a moment of silence for a dear colleague that was lost at North. And, you know, we certainly have had our share of losses in the system and among family members, and so we're in the holiday season, and offer support to one another. How are you doing? How can I help you get through this holiday season? How can I help you to be the best that you can be, not just here, but at home as well? Sometimes, like I love that discussion about the bridge. The netting offers hope. Having a leader say to an associate, "How are you doing?" That's the netting. We are offering hope and connection. So how do we offer support as a system? Well, we have great health insurance coverage, and we have mental health and substance abuse coverage on our insurance plan. We have a spiritual care department that offers chaplains in every area of the health system, and they are your boots on the ground if you need to speak to somebody immediately. And we have an employee assistance program. Our employee assistance program offers free confidential counseling to all associates and to anybody who lives in your house. They don't have to be related to you. They don't have to be on your health insurance. It doesn't matter to us who they are. So all they have to do is call the employee assistance program and schedule an appointment. You get 10 free sessions per problem, everyone, per problem. So excuse me if you've heard this before, but if you come up with enough problems, you could be seen all year long. And it is confidential. So if, you know, someone comes up to me and says, "Can you please tell me if so-and-so has used the program?" The answer is no, no, and no. Because we want a safe place for people to come to be able to talk about what they're struggling with. In addition to counseling, though, we offer workshops. We can come in and work with your team around reducing stress in the workplace, around team building, conflict management, effective communication, surviving the holidays. Please don't all call this afternoon. And we also offer management consultations. We will often get a leader call us and say, "I've tried this, 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 and this." And we'll talk about it and offer some consultation, some coaching in a way that a manager might think about a situation a little bit differently. You don't even have to come in. You can just call us. And we have this critical incident stress debriefing team that's about 40 people deep. And when there is a traumatic situation that happens associated with the workplace, whether it be a death, an untimely death, whether it be adverse patient event, you certainly can call us and we will come in and we will meet with the impacted group. And I can tell you without a doubt that people who have used critical incident stress debriefing in this system and outside of this system have always consistently say how helpful that is. Thinking about it before it happens, they go, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to bring in a couple of people. We're going to sit in a room with 10, 12 people. This is too much like group therapy." It's not like group therapy at all, but I can tell you that everyone who participates in a critical incident stress debriefing believes that it has been helpful. So I encourage you to call us. I want to acknowledge my employee assistance team. All of the counselors are here today, and they do a fabulous job. We have a booth, a table outside where we have our posters, our brochures, our business cards. Counselors will be standing there, and please take those and bring them back to your workplace and share them with your associates. And I just want to end with a video. And I want to thank the people who agreed to be in the video. These are people who are Methodist associates and have used the employee assistance program. And were courageous enough when we asked them if they would participate in a witness video, that they said yes. and that they wanted to tell their story and that they wanted to share with people how important it is to seek help when you need help. So I appreciate your time today, and I'm going to show the video now.
You see me smile, and laugh, but you really don't know what's going on in the inside. And I think that's a lot of people in the inside, a lot of things are going on.
More than a quarter of adults experience some type of anxiety, depression, stress, substance abuse, family issues, so we know it's very prevalent.
All of us go through life with issues that half the world doesn't even know we have.
We all have different things that crop up, and when you mix home life and work life, the day-to-day load, it sometimes becomes overwhelming.
And so the Employee Assistance Program is free, it's confidential, and it's a way for our associates to address those types of issues.
EAPs was a vital resource for me when my son died. Having that sort of trusted source that you can talk to in confidence is a very supportive process.
My husband and I both went. We both had an opportunity to use the services together as well as individually.
Some just personal issues, family and home life. It got to a point where I kind of needed to refocus and just get a helping hand and a help up. And I think that's exactly what EAP was for me.
I found EAP to be a wonderful resource, particularly when I might be overwhelmed.
Stress will put you in the hospital, and you don't want to do that. You want to be able to talk and get it out, because when I went, me just talking to my representative, it seemed like something was just lifted off of my shoulders.
Here I was managing, 120 plus people, and I could see what other people needed, but I couldn't identify that this was something that I needed for myself.
It's easy for us to forget. We try to eat right, we try to take care of ourselves physically. We often overlook our emotional well-being. Why is that?
Seeking professional help in always looked upon in the most positive light.
There's a kind of strange cultural stigma, but the reality of it is that strong people seek out the help of those who can help them. I think that's true of the biblical understanding, my understanding of the scriptures, which says of Christ that he is this mighty counselor. He's this person you can talk to. And I see EAP as filled with people who represent that kind of work.
There are pieces in people's lives that, are really beyond their ability to see clearly. And so I think once you get them in the door, EAP will sell itself. But I think the ability to have people know that you don't see it as a flaw or a weakness is very important. And that suggestion of, I know lots of people who've gone and it's been good for them, sort of takes away that feeling of there must be something wrong with me that isn't wrong with everybody else.
Whether it's a minor problem or a major problem, if it's affecting you, it's affecting your day-to-day life, whether it's at work or at home, there's no shame in getting help.
Everybody needs somebody to talk to. If you're with Methodist and you can reach out to EAP, family and friends, it's good to talk to somebody.
Well, Donna, thanks for a great presentation. We really, really appreciate it. We have elevated mental health to the same level as cardiology or neurosciences by really dedicating an effort and planning a true service line. Jay and Donna are leading that. This is an important issue, and I hope you all take these messages back to your places of work.